Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg is out as the aerospace giant continues to deal with fallout from crashes and grounding of its 737 MAX jets. Chairman David Calhoun will be named the new CEO on January 13th. So guys, this is actually something that we had been talking about for quite some time, about when exactly we were going to see Dennis Muilenburg be pushed out. And I guess now we have it.
Well, and you saw him get stripped of his chairman role back in October. So anytime that happens and there's a crisis at the same time, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. Interesting to see the stock up about 3% right now. Some might find that surprising, but I think this is a sign of fading uncertainty for at least the management structure of Boeing for right now. Although you could argue, is an insider the best choice to replace Muilenburg? Would an outside choice have been better, just because there has been so many issues this year with the MAX that perhaps they need some new thinking? But nonetheless, I think investors saw this coming, and the stock, as we've been talking about all year, has remained remarkably stable, even in the face of all these negative headlines.
And it's definitely about time that we saw the buck stop at the top and the CEO of Boeing actually pay consequences for what we saw. 346 people lost their lives. Let's not forget about that. 2 deadly crashes. And we see more investigations into Boeing. What we're seeing is that they put profits above safety. And when you're actually making airplanes, that is completely unjustified. So it's about time that he actually paid some kind of consequence here.
Right. We also, of course, have Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman here with us on the couch. Rick, I know you had actually written about this story, about the Boeing story, a couple of months ago. What are your thoughts as you see the news today that Muilenburg is out?
Why did it take so long?
Right.
I mean, the thing about Muilenburg, you shouldn't always just fire the CEO because something goes wrong at a company. But it turns out now we've seen all these internal issues. I mean, they were cutting corners to get this plane out the door. It probably should have been certified as a brand new aircraft instead of what Boeing did, which is get it certified as basically a 737, even though it was terribly different. I mean, it all happened under him. So he was the guy who got this airplane into the fleets, and he's the guy who was pushing, get this done, get this done. So for him to be the guy who fixes the problem he caused, I mean, it was kind of an ass-covering exercise, and it has smelled rotten for like the last 6 months.
Well, and here's one other point to make on this whole situation. Obviously tragic, with hundreds of people, who have died from these planes, but I guess the crisis happened sort of early on in the 737 MAX's life. So take the U.S. airlines, for example, United, Southwest, American. They only fly, 10 to 30 of the 737 MAX jets. If this crisis happened in 2 years from now, you could have had a situation where these airlines had hundreds of these planes. Thousands could have been in the skies, and then you'd have a worldwide grounding of thousands of planes, not hundreds. Not trying to make light of the situation, but certainly I think the benefit for Boeing is that this all was caught early on in sort of the arc of the 737 MAX.
And obviously, as we see the stock up almost 2.5% right now, this is a stock that's actually been remarkably resilient to all of the terrible crises that have impacted it.
Because it's a duopoly.
Exactly, over the course of the last 7 months. But I'm wondering, over the course of the last year, but I'm wondering for you, Scott, if you think this new shakeup, how we're going to see the stock perform from here on out.
Well, I mean, I don't like to give market forecasts, but I will say, I mean, the low for Boeing stock since the March 737 MAX crash was in mid-August at $320 a share. We have yet to see the stock move below that level.
Right.
That is encouraging. The lowest it has gotten since that point in mid-August was last week when the production halt was announced. It went to 321. By the way, what was the significance of 320 in mid-August? It wasn't because of a Boeing-specific issue. It was because that was the week we were all worried about the inverted yield curve, and the entire market took a dip. So the point is, the low for Boeing stock since this crisis started was about a yield curve, not about Boeing.
Right.
Muilenburg's departure was actually an opportunity for Boeing, though, because they can move from basically defending what they did in the past, and now that the guy who oversaw all that is gone, they can have a house cleaning right now.
Right.
So now they can say, here are all the ways we screwed up. It would be I think it would be a lot more credible to have, even if it's Dave Calhoun, who's been on the board basically since 2017 and for much of this, just to have somebody new in there saying we're gonna exercise all the ghosts of the past. We're gonna do a full house cleaning here, full accounting, tell you everything we did wrong, and get this plane back in the fleet.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.